All right, so we're going to work through this worksheet 3.5, the trig functions. Let's do the warm-up first. It says the terminal side of an angle phi. That's a Greek letter, phi. As we move on in math, we tend to just use Greek letters, but they're just any other variables, right? Phi, theta, whatever, lambda, alpha, beta, doesn't matter. But they give us cosine of phi as 0.8. Let's write that down. Cosine phi equals 0.8. It'd be smart if you express that as a fraction. So 0.8 is 8 over 10, which of course we know is 4 over 5. And then you got to think back to the last lesson where we looked at cosine as x over r, right? On the unit circle or any circle, it's the x coordinate over the radius. So what does that mean? So on our unit circle, we think of the x coordinate as 4, the radius as 5, and of course we rigged this one. You could do the Pythagorean Theorem, right? It's 4 squared plus y squared equals 5 squared. Hopefully you have this memorized, but if not, I'm going to take you through all the steps, right? 4 squared is 16, y squared is my unknown, 25 is 5 squared. So if we take 25 minus 16, we get 9. So obviously that means y is 3. So then we can find the direction, say, find sine of phi. So sine of phi, you know, in my head, I'm thinking, well, that's the y coordinate over the radius. So what is that? That is 3 over 5. So 3/5 is the answer. Of course, you can express it as 0.6. Either way, you got it. So remember, sine is y over r, cosine is x over r. That was our previous lesson. Now we're going to say, hey, what about some other combos of y, x, and r? And of course, that gives us all 6 functions, right? Sine is y over r, cosine is x over r. Tangent is defined as y over x. In geometry, it was the opposite over adjacent, which came up a lot. Geometry, that's it. You learned about sine, cosine, tangent, but now in pre-calc and calc, we have reciprocals of each of these. The reciprocal of sine, I'll just put a big R for cosecant, which is r over y. Just flip it, right? The reciprocal of cosine is secant, and the reciprocal of tangent is cotangent. So, you know, look at cosine, x over r, secant, r over x. So basically, from 2 functions, we get 6. You know, if you look at sine and cosine, y over x, if you divide y divided by x, you get tangent. So tangent, to be honest, we're going to see this later on, but it's just the sine divided by the cosine. So really, there's 2 main trig functions and then 4 spin-offs. You know, on the calculator, you have sine, cosine, tangent. All the reciprocals are cosecant, secant, cosecant. All right, let's do 2 problems, and then we will maybe go to another video. But it says, hey, suppose we got a point -1, 7. That's 1 to the left, 7 up, probably right about there, right? So we'll connect that to the origin and then drop a perpendicular to give us a reference triangle. We'll call this angle theta. So that's 1 to the left, 7 up. And then all I have to do is use the Pythagorean Theorem, right? 1 squared plus 7 squared, that's 1 plus 49, that's 50. So the hypotenuse is root 50, which is my radius, right? 7's my y, -1 is my x. And then I can get all 6 trig functions. All I need is a right triangle, and I can get all 6, right? Sine is y over r. So what is that? 7 over root 50. Now, by the way, root 50, I should probably break up, shouldn't I? because that's root 25 root 2. So that's equal to 5 root 2. That's my radius. So it's 7 over 5 root 2. Now here's the deal. We can't leave a square root in the bottom, so we're going to multiply by root 2 over root 2. Oops, not good. So what do I get? I get 7 root 2 over 5 times root 2 times root 2. That's 5 times 2, that's 10. There you go. So what's cosine? That's x over r, right? X over r is negative 1 over 5 root 2. And you got to go through the whole deal, right? Multiply by root 2 over root 2. So that's negative root 2, again, over 10. Tangent is y over x, or sine divided by cosine. So y divided by x is 7 over negative 1, which is negative 7. Oops, sorry. And then what do? These are all reciprocals. The reciprocal of 7 over negative 1 is negative 1 over 7. The reciprocal, and be careful, of negative 1 over 5 root 2 is negative 5 root 2 over 1, which I'll just write as negative 5 root 2. And finally, sine and cosecant are reciprocals. So the reciprocal of 7 over 5 root 2 is 5 root 2 over 7. I think you'll find it's helpful when you're doing the reciprocals. Do it with the original expression of the function, right? Don't do, like for sine, we had 7 root 10 over 10, 7 root 2 over 10. Don't flip that. Flip the 7 over 5 root 2. So I'm going to put a box around all 7 of my answers here. And I think for this first video, I will probably call it quits right here. Hopefully you got that. Sine is y over r, cosine is x over r, tangent y over x, cotangent, secant, and cosecant are the reciprocals of tangent, secant, and cosecant. And hopefully that helps. Let me just pause the video right here.